Hey, everybody. Linda Bean, Outreach Coordinator from the Kellyanne Dolan Memorial Fund, coming to you on a balmy Thursday in Fort Washington. Very excited to raise awareness today about such an important topic. Walking my dogs around the sports fields this morning, such a timely time to talk about student athletes in particular. There were kids playing lacrosse, football, running around the track. And this information that we're going to share with you today, I believe honestly, literally can save lives. So we are shining the light on a local organization, Simon's Heart, nestled right here in the Fort Washington area. And we're going to be talking about SCA, which we'll get much more into. I want to welcome today my guest to this segment. Hey, Jen. How you doing?
Hi.
Nice to see you. This is Jen Parado, who is the Executive Director from Simon's Heart. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having us and highlighting, shining a light on our very important mission. Thanks so much for having us this morning.
You bet, you bet. So let's really get to the heart of that mission. Tell me about Simon's Heart, who Simon was, what the organization is all about.
Absolutely. So I just want to thank you again for having us. As you said, walking the fields right now, everyone is out and getting ready for summer and fall sports. Simon's Heart actually started 17 years ago. A little boy named Simon was born, and then unfortunately, 3 months later, his parents put him down for a nap, and he just never woke up. What they ultimately found, the pediatrician first acknowledged maybe it was SIDS, and then they realized that, hey, we think this is a heart condition and it's probably genetic. So mom and dad, we're going to need you to get your hearts checked. So that's what they did. Mom and dad had their hearts checked. Turns out mom, Phyllis, has the same rare heart condition that Simon passed away from. So in essence, Simon's death actually really protected and saved his mom's life. Now, they took that grief and that tragic moment, and they, within the year of his death, decided to say, we're going to give back, and all hearts should be checked, so that way perfectly healthy kids don't collapse and pass away. So that's what we've been doing for the last 17 years, screening hearts, placing AEDs in the community, and creating as much awareness for sudden cardiac arrest as we possibly can.
Yeah, it's incredible work that you're doing. And I was really, struck by, looking at the greatest at-risk categories. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe student athletes and infants are the highest risk.
Yeah, so SCA is the #1 cause of death for student athletes. And let's just talk a little bit about what happens when someone goes into SCA. The heart stops beating suddenly and unexpectedly. And if the heart is not restarted, then the person unfortunately dies. So it feels out of nowhere. The heart stops pumping blood and the person collapses. We like to use a car analogy. It's like your car or washing machine breaking down without warning, and then you really don't know what's going on. So a lot of times you'll see, actually, this is perfect timing because Christian Eriksen is an elite soccer player that plays in Europe, and he collapsed a few weeks ago suddenly and unexpectedly. So at the highest level, he's had many heart screenings, but they unfortunately would have never caught anything, and he collapsed that day. So it could happen to anyone at any level, at any age, but what we're seeing is that that unfortunately our young athletes are at risk.
Sure. Well, and you mentioned that it is often a genetic condition, but I'm curious, are there some warning signs or symptoms that a coach, a parent, a teacher could look out for?
Yeah, so it's important to note that sometimes there is no warning sign at all whatsoever. But what we really want to highlight is that if you have chest pain, fainting, a history of fainting or dizziness, racing heart or palpitations, unexplained shortness of breath, change in exercise tolerance. Now, sometimes you might say, "Oh, he's a new athlete," or maybe he's not doing a sport. But it's important to report these to your doctor. What's cool is that the American Academy for Pediatrics just came out with 2 weeks ago a suggestion and recommendation that all of our pediatricians ask student parents and their families if they have any of these symptoms, any of these warning signs. Seems obvious. They check their eyes and their ears, but they don't check their hearts. Now they're finally verbalizing these questions to say, "Hi, are these red flags for SCA?"
That's amazing. So it's great that pediatricians are doing it. Are there kind of the same screening tools happening amongst youth sports?
So it's different in every league and every community. It depends on what the funding is. That's really why Simon's Heart is here, because we are providing a free service to anyone that needs it, regardless. Right now, it's really hard to get your insurance company to cover an EKG if you're a perfectly healthy kid. So our goal is to change the standard of care. That's ultimately would be a dream for us, so we could go out of business if they were just always doing EKGs in a pediatrician's office. So we're getting there with the verbal questions, but what really is an EKG. So we're out in the community. Out in Philadelphia, we're performing heart screenings as much as we can locally, and then we teach our sister organizations how to do that as well, because Simon's Heart really is the highest level of standard on how to do that. Actually, that's why I'm in the Ben Franklin today, because our chief medical officer is with Jefferson, and he's our sports cardiologist that is always thinking about innovative ways to do it wirelessly in a pandemic. How can we screen hearts? How can we make sure our student athletes are safe?
That's incredible. What we're talking about is prevention. And because some of these warning signs don't present, it's kind of can be a silent killer, so to speak. I know you guys for years have been doing some really innovative things that can make a difference in terms of saving a life. So let's talk about some of them. I was at a festival a few years ago. First time I came across the CPR jukebox. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah.
What its goal is.
Yeah, totally. So the CPR jukebox, normally don't put those two words together, but maybe you're old school like me and you were taught CPR to do it to the song Staying Alive. That song goes 100 beats per minute. That's how fast you should be doing CPR, is at 100 beats per minute. So we created this jukebox that's an actual in-person blow up tent that allows you to pop in, pick a song, grab a ball, push to the beat. So you pick of hundreds of songs on our playlist to start doing CPR to. We usually, as you can see in the video, we have kickballs that we do it to, but sometimes we're doing virtually. Anybody can grab anything from a tennis ball to a football. So I've seen a kid once grab a pillow. As long as you're doing that to 100 beats per minute, then you're already learning in your brain what song to sing, and then also how to save a life. So we always like to say saving a life is hard, but learning how to doesn't have to be.
That's incredible to kind of sync it up with rhythm in a song to save a life. And I know you're doing this at, out in the community and schools with youth groups and sports groups, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Also, in terms of prevention, I may get the phrase wrong, but I think it's Chain for Survival Relay.
Yeah.
How can that be a tool for prevention?
Yeah, so when someone collapses, it's so important to know the chain of survival. Usually, when I'm teaching young people, I say, "What do you do if someone collapses? What do you do if you see someone hurt?" And for a minute, they're like, "Wait, what do we do?" "Oh, right, we call 911, right?" So that's the first step. The second step is to start CPR. So hopefully you have people around you that can help you start compressions right away. And then tell your friend who's near you, run and get an AED. So those are the top three things to do in the chain of survival to make sure. That's literally how our friend Christian Eriksen survived his sudden cardiac arrest event on the soccer field, is that because his trainer and his I think his captain of the team, who ironically's name is Simon, literally saved his teammate's life. hmm So he knew he took a pulse, he started compressions, and he had someone run and get an AED. Those three things are what saved his life. An AED is the most important thing to do in that moment. You have 3 minutes to get to it and get it back to the person and on them for them to have the best chance of survival. So that case was really good. But you know what? That was an elite soccer team. They have all of the tools and the resources. So we're trying to provide those resources out to the community as much as we can.
That is
so that we have a chain of survival.
Well, you're making one of the most important points, which is the availability of, and I'm just going to tell you a quick story. This was years back, but a girlfriend of mine whose son was playing either in high school or college lacrosse. And we don't think about, asking when we show up to a game, hey, do you have accessibility to an AED? They did not have one. This was a smaller, more remote area where they were at some sort of, playoff game. And mom said, then my kid can't play. She went to the coach and said, my kid's not going to play today. Well, wouldn't you know, they got in touch with the local EMT or whomever, and they brought one of those to the field. But I know that's one of the things that you're really focused on, getting these AEDs where they need to be.
Yeah. Great story. And I'm so proud of that parent for advocating for not only her kid, but all the other children and adults on the field. It's so important to have it out there. Not everybody has the funding. We have a program called Got AED. If you go to gotaed.org, it helps families and communities crowdfund for an AED so they don't have to shell out the big cash. We get a nonprofit discount. We purchase the AED on their behalf. We don't take any funds off the top. We're just lucky to have a partner like Cardio Partners that supports us. And then you can fundraise $25, $10 at a time and secure funds for AED. So Got AED is a really important way to make sure that children are safe where they learn and play. So like that community, if you know anyone that is in need of an AED and you're asking that question, reach out to us. We'll make it happen. If you feel uncomfortable fundraising, because a lot of communities are really in need and certainly don't have the ability to support an AED, we know some partners that are interested in helping out for sure.
Excellent. That's a really good point. I also know that you've done a lot as an organization around advocacy and research. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of that legislative action and the research end, particularly the registry.
Yeah. Thank you for asking these great questions about our mission. So really, advocacy and the SCA Prevention Act is one of the most important milestones of Simon's Heart. It was really built on, so that way children are protected on the field and that coaches and their teammates are taught the tools. So we have 3 primary components to the SCA Prevention Act. Parents of student athletes must review and sign an information sheet about the warning signs. So parents have to be educated. Coaches must take an additional online training course about SCA. And then coaches, this is the key, must remove a player from competition who exhibits symptoms of SCA. So similar to if you get a concussion, you can't go back on the field. Now, in at least 15 states, you cannot go back on the field if you're showing symptoms. And what is amazing about this initiative is that we have trained 1.4 million coaches and athletic trainers on the signs of SCA. So, and every year they're required to continue that education. Such an important milestone that was developed and pushed through by Simon's mom and dad, Darren and Phyllis Sudman. It's incredible, and we just hope that more states continue to pass laws. We're starting to see other of our sister organizations in other states start to pop up new regulation as well. Anytime a famous person or someone in the community collapses, it just heightens the awareness I hope we get to a point where it's not about someone's collapse. It's about the fact that, yeah, just like you have a fire extinguisher, you need an AED, just like you know how to do certain other life-saving treatments, you understand the importance of CPR.
That's just such an amazing accomplishment, in the world of advocacy to really make a difference. We're really just talking about a simple thing here, raising awareness about an issue and then putting some tools that can actually prevent. So that's incredible. 14, 15 states is wonderful. But I'm sure you feel more work to do, not until it's in every state across the country.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've got a couple more questions. I know tips is a difficult thing to hit upon because many kids or infants do not exhibit any warning signs. So, if you were to kind of encapsulate the three most important things around SCA that a coach, a teacher, a parent, anyone could do, what would they be?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think we talked about those things, but the number one thing is, where is that AED? Where is it? Because in terms of if in the event that something happens, that's the only way that you're going to save a life. In terms of preventative, what are the signs? Don't ignore a kid that passed out because he's dehydrated. Do the follow up and make sure that everything's okay. Get your heart checked, because if you have the ability to do that, or if you look into your local area, come to one of our heart screenings. We would love to do that. We're screening kids ages 12. I think by the fall we'll be screening up to ages 25. And then know the chain of survival. So know the signs. Like the slide is perfectly nudging me. Know the signs. Get a heart screening, and know the chain of survival. Those are going to save a life. And then if you want to support, start telling other people about what Simon's Heart is up to, and join us. You're welcome to volunteer when we get back to big in-person screenings. Come to one of our screenings, check it out, bring the kids in your community.
That's a great review. This AED, we just want to kind of hammer it home. Just curious, Jen, how much does one cost?
So an AED could cost between $1,000 and $5,000, depending on what you're getting, what size it is, how many you are. But if you crowdfund for one with Simon's Heart, you're crowdfunding between $850 and $1,100, and that will place an AED. Some of our partners like to get an extreme weather AED, so that way it's not locked inside a building and then someone collapses and you can't get to it, right? So sometimes those costs go up a little bit.
Seems like a pretty minimal investment, from my perspective, to save a life. But that's good to know, just kind of price point. To kind of close up today, I know, a lot of what you're doing, all of us in terms of nonprofits, we're raising the dollars to be able to fulfill our mission and provide our services. So I think you have an event coming up in a couple weeks. Tell us about it.
Yeah. We sure do. So it's our 6th annual Simon Says Golf outing. As it says, around for kids' hearts. It's a great time. Our Gritty from the Flyers actually comes out, gives all of our golfers a hockey stick, and they actually, in the very first, before we kick off, they actually hit a golf ball with their hockey stick, and whoever gets closest to the hole wins that first prize. And then the whole day is sprinkled with beverages and games and an opportunity to have some fun. You can also win a trip to your dream golf course, which is Pebble Beach. We're raffling those off right now. It's a good time. Go to simonsheart.org if you want to get involved. We have lots of events throughout the year. Simon Says Golf is pretty unique. We're actually the School of Rock in Fort Washington actually will be performing for our bands and barbecue portion of the evening. So if you want to come out to see some good music and support Simon's Heart, come on, check it out.
Amazing cause. So just visit their website if you're interested in joining in or sponsoring or coming out for that music. Well, Jen, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I mean, this just raising awareness about this topic is just so critical, and information at our fingertips to be able to prevent SCA. So want to wish you an amazing summer and continuing on with the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And thank you for shining a light, not only on Simon's Heart, but for so many of us in the community that need it most. You're really protecting hearts and saving lives. So thank you for doing that.
You bet. My pleasure. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye.